Hola, I'm Dr. Ramon Martinez. It's April the 12th. We're at the Gilroy Library in Gilroy, California. And this is part of the Mexican Families of Gilroy, as seen through the pages of El Excéntrico magazine. And El Excéntrico, our logo is this beautiful picture. This is the first cover of El Excéntrico. And this woman's name is Lorraine Caudillo. And she was the sister of Connie Caudillo, who you may know was a big band leader in the 60s and 70s here in San Jose. Mike, will you tell me your name and tell me about your family that you came from?
Okay, first I want to thank you. And my name is Miguel Mike Correa, born in Salinas, California, 3 days, but lived in Soledad up until 1964. My familia was from Zacatecas on my dad's side, Correas. And on my mother's side, they were from Jalisco. They were a product of the Revolution de Mexico, but they had already been coming through California and through the whole, picking the fruits and the vegetables. The first stop actually was in Anaheim, where they were born. My mom and my dad, Maria and Miguel. And then from there, then they would travel all the way up to Sacramento and do all the field work. They stopped here in Gilroy in the 30s, early 30s, and they did the prunes and whatever they had to be picked. But again, they went all the way up to Sacramento. And then they would go back, and then eventually what happened was that they settled in the little town of Soledad in 1932, I believe. And that's where they did all the field work. And the field work was done all in Monterey County and San Benito County. My dad was a loader. My mom was at home with all the kids. There were 6 kids. My mother, my dad, of course. And that's where we started off pretty much. Gilroy, my parents used to pick over here in Gilroy at the Pelliccioni Ranch. And we as kids, my dad dropped us up there in middle 1950s, I believe. He dropped us up there one summer and we were picking prunes there and whatever there was to pick. So, my family has been picking in Gilroy since the 30s, really. And so, like I said, the 50s, we picked prunes. It was we never thought it as a struggle. Everybody was doing the same thing, especially since you had there was 6 brothers and 1 sister. It was, in many ways, it was fun. We're always challenging each other on who could do the work the fastest. Because as my dad would say, when he would drop us off at the fields in Monterey County or over here in Gilroy, he said, "Hey, ahí está el dinero, nomás mira, levanta la pizca." And the faster we get, the more money we're going to get for the family. So, for us it was a challenge, but it was a game of who could pick the most. And I cherish a lot of that. Yes, it was hard, it was a struggle, but guess what? I love challenges, and our family loved challenges. We never cried about anything or had sympathy or said, "No, hey, this is what it is. We do what we got to do." But it was fun. It was fun. It was very challenging. It was fun. And then from there, like I said, went to Gonzales High, had to travel from Soledad to Gonzales, and went there in 58 and 62, which was, a lot of people don't think, but there was a lot of prejudice at Gonzales. There was a lot of prejudice working in the fields, going into town, or even at the church, at the Catholic church, Mexicans on one side, the Güeros on the other side. I remember that. It's not lies. My tias would tell me, and I remember it. In high school also, it was kind of unheard, but it was there. For me, the reason it was easy to accept a lot of this, not accept, remember, I could pass. And when you can pass, guess what? You can get into people's environment or who they are and how they are. So that's why, eventually I say, "Hey, wait a minute. Just because I don't look like my abuelita or my abuelito or some of my other más prietos, guess what? My heart, my mind is stronger. And that's why I've always had this passion for people's rights, civil rights. Don't judge the book by its cover. Or my abuelita de Buchole, de Zacatecas, Jerez, the espejo mentality. The espejo mentality was kind of like the book, right? You look at the mirror, and you look and say, hey, don't judge yourself by what you look like or what you have. You judge yourself by what kind of heart you have and what kind of mind. That is the essence of humanity, of life, of respecting everybody.
Miguel, tell me about your brothers and sisters and where you fit in the picture and where you went to school as a child.
I'm the second child on 6 brothers, 1 sister. My older brother Richard, he was born in 1943. I'm second, I was born in 1944. Now this is hard to believe, I know. And then the third one's Federico, my brother. He was born 9.5 months, counting, 9.5 months after I was born. And then I had my sister Dolores, she was born 2 years later. And then after Dolores, 3 years later, was Raul Roy. And then Stanley, the baby, was born in 1959. So we had 6 brothers, 1 sister. We had actually, in reality, it was a harsh bringing up, let me tell you. It was harsh, but like I said, we accepted it. But there were other things that were kind of hard, but we just accepted it, you know, because the old days was, hey, no digas nada. Respect, no matter what's being said to you, you respect. And that's how we were. Porque te está mirando el Señor, God's watching you. So, and then from there, like I said, we went to Soledad Grammar School. Then from Soledad, then we went to Gonzales High, which was about another 10 miles from there. And most of us graduated from Gonzales High. Ricardo, myself, Federico, Dolores, we graduated from Gonzales High. And then in 1965, that's when my parents moved out of Soledad. But it was a good time. As for myself, okay, I want to kind of say a couple of good things for myself. As a sophomore, I was already pitching varsity. I was a left-hander. I had all that good practice working in the fields, tomatoes, carrots, or running the railroad tracks. We ran the railroad tracks from Chular sometimes when my dad would drop us off. And when there was Little League, guess what? All the way to Soledad, that's 20-some miles away. But you're little kids, you're the railroad tracks. Or from Gonzales to Soledad. Or from Greenfield to Soledad. Hey, man, if you want to play ball like I did, hey, it don't mean nothing. It was beautiful for me. That was my salvation, because I wasn't too bright up here in the head. But I had a hell of a left arm. But I had all that practice, okay, working in those fields, man. But and my other brothers were a little bit more smarter than I was, but we didn't see ourselves as who's smarter or who's not smarter. We got along very, very well, which was a beautiful thing, because we understood our plight and what my dad had to go through, and my mom with so many bocas to feed. My dad used to go to work in Calexico during the winters. He was leaving us at home there in Soledad, and it was a hard time during that time. And but they talk about the braceros, but hey, the braceros, our familias were the braceros, were the first ones. Especially, remember, I would say, we were here, my grandma, my parents, during the Revolution in Mexico, man. Again, my mom and dad were born in Anaheim. But that's where our root is. And then we went to Hartnell, 3 of us went to Hartnell in 63, 64. But then, there was the Vietnam War coming on. So for myself, I was very good as a baseball pitcher there at Hartnell. And I was made all league, all conference, the whole thing in Enchilada. This is hard to believe for some people. Like, remember, I could pass very easily. But one time, my sophomore year, I had won already the most valuable player, all conference, the whole Enchilada, and I was supposed to speak in front of the Lions Club. And this still burns me and it hurts me. No Mexican has ever said something or received this trophy. And when I heard that crap, because I would say, well, I'm a Mexican. I may not look like one, but I'm Mexican and I'm a Chicano. Oh, and guess what? I never was able to speak. I know some people say, no, it can't be. Like I said, I'm a proud dude. Hey, I'm proud of my familia. Just because I can pass them, I'm going to turn my back on them? No way, and everybody should be that way. It's not what you look like, it's what you got in your mind, your heart. That's what my abuelita. Those are the seeds, or I like to say, that is the pozo I drink from. We drink from each other's well, which is how we refresh, how we energize ourselves, how we gain wisdom, respect, but also guess what? They can come to you when you aren't even thinking about it. Those pozos, I call them. The huicholes did not believe in the mirror, that's why. It's what you got in your mind and your heart, and that, you know what? Wow, it carries a long way.
You talked about your grandparents being working in Anaheim. Do you know what kind of work they did there?
Piscaban naranjas. And my tia Julie, she just passed away about 6 months ago. She was 98 years old. She is, before she passed away, and after I said a little bit of speech on her behalf, and I said, you know what? We think of angels in heaven, but you know what? There are angels here on Mother Earth.
Your parents, do you know how they ended up going to Anaheim? Did they get recruited to go? Did they just happen to stop there, or did they know people there?
They had to follow the crop. And in Anaheim, orange, pretty much the crop was just what? Naranjas. But you go to the valley, you go to Soledad, Monterey County there, Soledad, Greenfield, Gonzales. Hey, you got all the fruits. I mean, well, yes, there was the orchard, California orchards from Greenfield. Oh, the peaches, the apricots, we picked that. But the whole county was all agriculture. So hey, if you got that's why they ended up going there, and that's where they eventually settled. But like I said, they used to go all the way to Sacramento, all the way to Sacramento.
When you say they settled there, they lived there a long time, or did they buy property, or what?
They bought this little old house, and it's going to be in the photograph where my brother painted. And that was built in 1933, I believe, 1934. And that was that little house was there up until about just maybe over 20 years ago when they replaced it with another one. There's a little in that picture that my brother painted, the little house to the right, that was our little house. That was un garachi. But what happened to that little house of ours, the rats burned it. Because there were rats all over the place sometimes, you know. And I remember when we used to make, you know, you may find it hard to believe, when we used to make pancakes already as little kids, there was rat, you know, mierda in the pancake mix. But guess what? My sister would just take out the little droppings. And you know what? We ate the pancakes. Hey, you know, hey, we eat whatever there is, because they told us, eat what there is, and if you don't like it, get away from the table. That's how we were brought up, and you know, we never wasted anything. And, you know, all you have to do is clean it up a little bit, and we never went hungry, because there was always the fields. We could always get the fruits, the vegetables, or las papas, or my abuelita. Oh, you see a picture of my abuelita with her axe, you know, la leña, you know, chopping leña. She had a bunch of chickens, some pigs. We grew pigs also ourselves later. So, you know, we had meats. You know, you don't need any store, really. Well, you know, at that time it was a beautiful time. But no, everything was pretty much self-made. Pretty much up until maybe junior year in high school, I think. Because we didn't know doctors. My abuelita was a curadera. She had all these medicines from the plantas. Yeah.
Miguel, tell me about the end of your high school years, and you said you went on to Hartnell.
Okay, I graduated in 1962, and there was no really, you know, the thing was, hey, try to go to Hartnell and see if you can get in and all that. So I was able to get into Hartnell, because can you imagine, I was a senior in high school, and the thoughts that had been put into my mind was the highest position I could ever get would be like a field boss. Huh? At the packing sheds or in the fields. That's how my mind was programmed. I know it's going to be hard to believe for some of you people, but that's, when you can program the mind, it's a shame. You know, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And a bunch of Mexicanos, a bunch of us, the Los Fides, we were taking advantage. Okay, Hartnell, 63, I remember they would truck us or bus us to Hartnell. And my core study at that time was baseball. Because they knew already from my history as a baseball pitcher, this guy is good, real good, you know. So that's how I ended up in there. But then it was liberal arts, and then you used to see the courses they were putting me in. They put me in physics. Gee, what are they, los files? Physics? I flunked it, and then I got a D the next time. Like I said, I wasn't bright. I was good at playing baseball. So then they put me, so then I took a health class. Health class. First time something was wrong with it. I got a D, but then I took it again, I got a C. I took bonehead English. I flunked it. Yes, I flunked it. And then I passed it the next time, got a C. I wasn't too bright, but I was great at baseball. If it wouldn't been for baseball, I would have been lost. So, went there in 63 and then 64. Then I remember when J.F. Kennedy got assassinated. That was a very bad. I remember there at Hartnell, we were at the student union meeting, and there was buddies like Charlie Morales from Gilroy and a bunch of the Morales families. The kids that were my age. But I remember the bus crash, or the bus with the train hit this bracero. So I remember going from Solid to Hartnell, and there were these Mexicanos, braceros that were laid out along the railroad track for, I don't know for how long. So I remember that very clearly, let me tell you, very, very, very clearly. And there's other things before that also, in 1948 I had two my tios that were braceros that got killed during the Colinga in Los Gatos Canyon. Two were my tios de Jalisco. So that was family. And then my tia Angelita would tell me, I was only 4 years old, I think. And then in 1958, I believe it is, I knew the bus driver of the braceros too. Very beautiful man, beautiful person, his family, I knew his girls and everything. So I knew what happened there in Soledad. So, I've experienced all three tragedies of El Mexicano and, the bracero and of course the locals. But then in Hartnell, like I said, after Hartnell, I couldn't go to the next level because I didn't have the grades, Unless if you're a widow, believe me, I outpitched a guy. Well, I didn't outpitch it. The truth is, he beat me, Tug McGraw. He used to play for the Mets, and he was a good buddy of mine. But after that, like I said, I tried to go to the next level. I couldn't do it. So what was left for me, I didn't want to go back to the fields. So I said, hey, I'll join the military. So I was getting almost my draft notice, and I said, I want to, as dumb as, or it's not smart. Okay, it's not as smart as I am. I want to join the service, see if I can qualify. And guess what, man? Can you imagine? I was able to enter the Air Force. Wow, man! This Mexicano, man. So, man, that was a trip in itself. Then basic training basic training was great. I really enjoyed it. In Texas, went to Lackland Air Force Base, basic training, and then got out of Lackland. And that was in '65, April. And then after basic training, I went back to my first base, Beale Air Force Base. And I walked around the B-52s that were loaded with nuclear weapons, let me tell you. They were loaded with nuclear weapons. And also that's where we had the U-2, the SR-71. It was a top secret base. So then they saw some potential in me, and they said, well, you know what? Try this new program. We've got a new program that they told me it was mine enhancement. Whoa, right? Mine enhancement. So I said, okay, I joined it, and I volunteered for it. So then after about 7-8 sessions, I said, I don't like where you're taking me here now, man. Because what they were doing is it was like on tables like this, 5-10 guys, and they would say, clear your minds, clear your minds. So you clear your mind, there's 5-10 guys. Now they say, now with your mind, clear any ailments you have in your body. Do that. So eventually you were just one. That's why I call it the finger hand concept. Now you are 5, or you are 5 or 10, right? Which is what? One mind, one heart, or in the old Chicano way, un fregazo. I could say the other word, but I won't say it. Okay? So eventually you were being trained to where you had a duty, and that's all you were focused on. Your back was covered, and you covered his back. So eventually I didn't like it. So they said, well, we still like your demeanor, your personality, and how you look, and you're very athletic and all that. We'll give you 2 options. Wow, man, I said, yeah, I'm a young kid, right? They give me the options of, you can be a dog handler. Sounds pretty good. My second option, or you can be a sniper. Yikes. Well, and guess what I picked? I was a dog handler. So then I went to K-9 school and all that. But no, this is the option that they give you. And I selected the dog handler, that saved me in many ways. And I'm saving many people now in how to think with the senses of the animal against a real animal, which is mortal man. I know how to do those techniques, how to make you relax, how to do things when you have to do. So, and then I got discharged in '69, but I ended up in the hospital when I was Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. I was there about 2.5 years. They discovered that I had nodules, cancer nodules. And they said, Sergeant, we're going to have to take care of them, because if we don't, you're going to end up with a tube in your throat and in your stomach. And he showed me here, this young kid, maybe about 20 years old, 21, he had a tube in his throat and here. He had been exposed to malathion for the dogs to kill the bugs, Agent Orange, and some of us, radiation ionization. That affects your whole immune system. So they treated for me and they fixed me and they said, no, you're fine. But when I was in the hospital at Clark Air Force Base, the Tet Offensive was going on, and you should have seen the mayhem that was coming into that hospital. Eventually they said, Sergeant Correa, we're going to have to remove you into another area because there's too much people dying and pain and hurt and suffering. And so thank God they moved me out of there. But like I said, it was a good time, even though I saw so many bad things. And that's how my disabilities came from that.
I'm sorry. So all your military service was here, stateside?
No, it was Clark Air Force Base, the Philippines.
Okay, so you were in the Philippines, and then
And Texas.
Okay, but I'm trying to catch up with,
yeah.
where did you get exposed to the malathion and the different chemicals?
My exposure to malathion and ionization radiation was at Dyess Air Force Base in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And that was a top secret base that had U-2s and had a lot of top secret things, put it that way. To be in that base and to be participating around a lot of these top secret things, I had to sign a 40-year commitment of silence, which means, hey, you don't say crap or whatever it is. You just keep quiet, because there's a lot of top secret things. Imagine the SR-71, the Blackbird, the U-2s, some of these special programs, the I kind of led into that one now. The psychotronics. Eventually, the program that I was introduced on the mind, they called it psychotronics. It was being taught by Stanford University. I didn't find about that until about 20 years later. But the malathion, all that affects your immune system. It causes slow deterioration. Our dogs were the first victims, because remember, a dog's immune system is not as strong as ours, and because their life frame is only 10 years. So most dogs that were there, and then when I was overseas at Clark Air Force Base, would die within about 3-4 years. They were affected by prostate cancer, thyroid cancer, kidneys, you name it. All the diseases that humans have, that we would have 20, 30 years later, our system will start deteriorating. Our immune system would be shot. And I know he's watching right now, but he's a product of that. That hurts. My wife is a product of that, because I got married in the Philippines. I was married almost 40 years. And remember, the Philippines, that's one of the most toxic bases in Southeast Asia, recognized by the Health World Organization. Because we had all this Agent Orange, malathion, all these dioxins, radiation from the nuclear weapons. Remember, these people that were born and lived there, hey, they were affected. The women is the ones it's hard for me. Because, my wife got it, okay? And then a lot of the firstborns, something is wrong, let me tell you. Physically, mentally. It's a hard thing. But that's why maybe I'm so open, I'm so passionate about so much of this, because, I want to let people know, But eventually, like I said, after, I want to jump pretty far ahead here. And then April 9th was the 10th anniversary that my wife died from cancer of the throat. She died within 5 months. It was a volcano. It was like a volcano. The doctors told me, Mr. Correa, you're going to have to be the doctor, the nurse, the caregiver. She knows your husband, and you know that. If you can handle cleaning her trach and all that, she's gonna be fine. So I did that for about five months before she passed away. And like I said, it's 10 years just this April 9th. But it's unreal how I've been able to overcome so much. But again, remember I was talking about los pozos that I drink, the people that I drink, my abuelitos, abuelitas, friends, amigos, whoever it is. If you respect people, guess what? It comes back to you. You don't need the booze, the drugs. Just respect, and that's what keeps me alive and going. Of course, my son Michael. Without him, I'd be lost. So, just you people here that I'm saying these things, you are a pozo to me in many ways. I'm drinking. I'll be drinking from you. You will carry as my abuelita would say, la semilla, the seed. I'm seeding. Now it's for you to nurture it and cultivate it and give it on to somebody. And when you do that, guess what? You are passing as, what is it? La palabra del Señor, the word of God. We are in certain ways in His image. So we can empower each other in more ways than we might think. And that's why, to me, people is my booze and my drugs. I love people.
Miguel, in what year did your wife pass away?
My wife passed away in 2006, April 9th, Easter Sunday. I'll tell you a little story into that one too. 2 weeks before she passed away, her little doggie, Reggie, a white little Chihuahua, when I would leave the hospital and then go back to the house, actually, she stayed at the house for almost 2 or 3 months. But then afterwards, it was getting close because the cancer had really, it's like a volcano. So then I went home, and little Reggie, somehow he got loose and he got inside my car. And what's this? He didn't want to get out of the car. He was growling at me. He said, I'm not going nowhere. So guess what I had to do? I had her take Reggie to see Mama. And when I snuck Reggie to see Mama, and Mama was so happy, like, oh, my little doggy. And then, like, I remember, she couldn't talk for about 6 months. We would write. And she wrote, I said, can I take Reggie with me? Because they were just so beautiful with each other, So couldn't take Reggie. I said, she would write, I know, it's okay. But can you imagine that little doggy? He almost chewed the heck out of me because he wanted to see Mama. And guess what? After she saw Mama, that little doggy, he was happy. And you know what? My wife, she was happy. Like, I finally saw my last baby. Because that was her last baby, Reggie. But it's at Kaiser. And I know some of this is going to be it's hard. And hopefully you people understand some of this. Is that when she called, I was at Costco getting some food also. Because I knew I was going to bring her home the next day. So I had to go to Costco. And then I get the calls from the nurses. I said, Mr. Correa, your wife, she wants you. So I quickly drove over there back, and I'm there. And then all of a sudden, what happens was she said, give me a bath, cleaned her. She could walk very good, so I cleaned her up and everything. And then afterwards, she said, no, she didn't say, she went by hand signal, for me to go eat because I hadn't eaten. You go eat. So I went to the cafeteria. And within about 20 minutes, I heard, I think it was code blue, second floor. And I knew what it was. And quickly rush, get up there, and I only saw her maybe a couple of seconds, and she passed away. And the doctor said, they were going to try to, get her going again. And she said, no, they just let her go. And so, I've got some, hard memories, but those are memories that, hearing her, can you imagine somebody saying or writing to you, I don't want to die. My son loves me, But, you can't stop a cancer that bad. That's the worst cancer that you could have had, anybody could have had. It's metastasizes. Eventually, when I knew more about cancers than they did. Because I was supposed to have gotten that cancer. I had it on my throat. Okay? I had it. I've had a heart attack from my exposures. It took me 40 years to get my benefits. 40 years. I went to 4 counties. They didn't believe me until my records were opened up. Top secret, right? 40 years. What? I had a heart attack, my thyroids, my colon. Hey, the VA is not going to give a guy 100% just to give him 100%. But guess what? I've got all these people that are helping me. These pozos that I drink from. They don't want me yet. God has said, I will call you when I want. You do what you got to do and do it, yes, do it. But you will be surrounded with so many beautiful people, aunts, uncles, friendships. So like say, hey, I'm rich.